In this video, traders, we're going to look at cannabis stocks. Stay tuned. Hey guys, warm welcome to you. So if you have any exposure to the markets whatsoever, you are going to know that cannabis, weed stocks as they call them, has just gone absolutely crazy. Marijuana, cannabis, weed, whatever you call it, who cares? This is the mania of the moment. Now, you can understand why, because legislation is changing almost all the time. Now, you see the US in particular has basically said, you know what, states, if you want to legalize cannabis, you can do. And we've now seen states where they've legalized it for medical use and they've legalized it for recreational use. And that is potentially opening up a massive market. The drinks companies are scared. They're buying in and buying chunks of these cannabis companies as well, because they think that, hey, we can combine alcohol with cannabis. Maybe people are going to start drinking to get high rather than with alcohol in, all these kind of things. And this is potentially a big trend that could continue for multiple years, which is why people are so excited about these cannabis stocks. Now, they started out, a lot of them were over the counter because it's still federally illegal at the time of doing the video, and there was lots of uncertainty about, you know, can they have a bank account and all this kind of stuff. So as it starts to get more relaxed and as they start to prove themselves, a lot of these now are listed on the NYSE, NASDAQ, a lot of them used to be listed on the Canadian exchanges, but there's a big thing to say here, guys, that you've got to be very cautious in this sector. For me, there's a few things to watch out for. One, is the company legitimate and it's not just piling on the whole cannabis trend because that's the hot trend, number one. So, and specifically, if it's over the counter, beware that the reporting standards are far less strict than they are for someone like New York Stock Exchange or any of the other major exchanges. So watch out for that one. And two is the valuations. Now, you know, I don't really look into valuations much, but the bearish thesis on these is, hey, they're very overvalued and they're based on future valuations, future promises. Now, that's fine because, of course, lots of companies have done that and have worked out successfully. Amazon, great example. Netflix, forget about the valuations now. What do you think of those? They have traded at, you know, very steep valuations by traditional metrics, but they've come through and come good. And the charts have kind of proven the valuations wrong, so to speak. So there's two sides to that coin. I'm not saying it one or the other, but I'm just saying this is a very early market. It's a young market. It potentially could go one of two ways. It could be completely boom for these guys, or it could fizzle out into nothing. Which one's going to come out as the leader? I think now it's a race to how much money they can raise, how much money they can push in to accumulate, to grow, to do all these things. Now, I've got a few different stocks for you to look at here. The way I see it, there's a few different ways of actually getting exposure. The first way of doing it is to buy the growing companies. So the people who are actually growing the cannabis, and these things are like labs. If you see anything on YouTube, go and look at YouTube and put in cannabis or marijuana farm, marijuana lab. They are like laboratories. They're being grown. And of course, it's not just the growing and the producing and selling the end product. It's actually the technology potential that goes into getting the right seeds, getting the right environment, all this kind of stuff. So it's not just a play on growers, and that seems to be the common thing that everyone's going for, and you can understand kind of why. But there are alternative cannabis related plays that could benefit from cannabis, but perhaps aren't completely wedded to the cannabis industry going great. Anyway, let's look at some stocks. So the obvious one, or the one that's been absolutely volatile, and something probably just obvious, guys, we should mention it, is the danger of the volatility of these things. Look at this stock here, Tilray, you know, gone from whatever it is, $20, $300, down to $100, and bear in mind it lost half its value in one day at one point. Back up, back down, and even at the time I'm doing this, guys, up 30%. So volatility, huge. Make sure your risk is thoroughly managed. All right, so we've got Tilray. The market cap of this is almost 10 billion. Pretty hefty company exposure there. Okay, Cronos is another one, guys. This is another one that's just been all over the place. It's rocketed back and forth. It's been up and down. It's been very wild. If you look at this, this is kind of a lower market cap, 1.62 billion. If you look at the description here on TradingView, It's you know, it says it's a vertically integrated cannabis company with a worldwide presence. Do you know this is the medical cannabis license? You know, there's two arms that we talked about as well. It's kind of the medicinal side of it, which is going to drugs, and I'll kind of skip here and look at this one. It's a pharmaceutical company as well. You know, GW Pharmaceuticals. These guys are actively trying to put cannabis. I don't know if it's GW specifically, but they're trying to put kind of cannabis, the reactive part of the cannabis leaf or bud, how you want to put it, into drugs to help people with nausea, to help people with side effects. So into existing drugs, but kind to use cannabis as part of their existing drugs. And a lot of other companies are doing that as well. So that's a kind of side play if you don't have a pure grower play, because these companies are still probably producing profitable drugs, but they're just kind of leveraging on this medicinal cannabis or medical cannabis arm to give their companies a boost. So you would assume that potentially they're not putting all their eggs in one basket like the growers. Kind of, if cannabis doesn't work for them, then they're gone bust. So there's kind of two different ways and plays of doing it. All right, so we've got a Cronos group. You can see volatile beast, this one, very popular one. This one, we have Canopy Growth. Lots of investment by external companies. Big companies have really kind of got behind this one in particular. Market cap shows it as well, 9.9 billion. You know, they're just literally sucking money in, and they're just attempting to be the number one at the moment. They're almost there. I mean, Tilray is about the same, but you know, they're the big guys. ACB, another one. These are now Aurora Cannabis. These have been around a while. They've now just shifted to the NYSE. They were on OTC. You can see the volatility huge. Another one with good presence, and another one with good market cap, 7 billion. So these companies aren't small, guys. All right, what have we got here? Afria, this is at $13. This is slightly less market cap. This is more of a pharmaceutical play again, 3 billion. And then we've got the other market, the pharmaceutical, GW Pharmaceuticals, like I say, which is again a pharmaceutical play. This one's a bit of a curveball. This is Scott's Miracle Grow Company. So these are guys who potentially could benefit by creating a fertilizer that is really useful for the cannabis sector. So this is a kind of thinking around the theme of, okay, this trend's going to grow, who's going to benefit? And if these guys become the go-to supplier of a fertilizer, then for cannabis plants, then they're going to make a lot of money out of it. But they've still got their, you know, big brand, and they've still got their other products that they're selling as well. So it's kind of not a pure cannabis play, but something that will definitely benefit or potentially benefit from the cannabis market. And if you don't feel that you can pick a cannabis stock, because there's so many out there, and there's probably a massive amount of OTCs as well, guys, which I haven't gone through. I just wanted to keep it to the big ones. You've got this ETF. MJ is the ETF, and it's called Alternative Harvest, and this has got reasonable exposure to the cannabis sector. So if you don't think you can pick a stock and you want some exposure, this is something to perhaps consider. Anyway, guys, that's it. That's what I've got for you. If you've got any that I've missed out, chuck them in the comment section below. As always, please keep your risk managed, and I'll double say it on this one because these are volatile stocks. You know, whether or not they make money, they are swinging around, and whether or not you're right on your thesis, as we know, they could halve, they could go down by 90% before they come back. They could go up by 1,000% before they come back. So long or short, whichever way you play it, be very cautious. They are volatile, and volatility can be a trader's best friend, or it can be a killer. Whatever you're up to, take care. Bye bye.